Welcome to Megapath Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about The Walking Dead issue 162, just dropped today. After this, I'm going to upload my Here's Negan Part 9. There's some interesting stuff going on with Negan, some odd stuff going on as well as far as the story. It started making a nice solid connection, and then it fell off a little bit there, and I'm waiting to see what they do with that connection. But check out that. I know it's late. It finally broke me down. I just can't justify the drive. 4 pages each month, it's just too little. It's not doing enough for me right now. Anyway, with that said, let's recap the newest issue, which is the end of the Whisperer War. A very pleasant surprise of an issue. Now, to recap, we see Negan, he's burying Lucille. The kingdom finds the hilltop destroyed, and then the survivors camping out at the base of the ruins of the hilltop. And then we see Eugene returning to Alexandria with a whole shitload of bullets that he made. Rick realizes the war isn't even close to being over. Oddly enough, this is the last issue for the Whisperer War, the story arc. But that's a positive thing in my opinion. And finally, the Whisperers release the Mega Herd we saw way back in issue, oh man, I'm going to get this wrong, like 142, 143, something like that. Was it? Yeah, because 137 was Carl's face. 139 was the ocean, somewhere around there, 140-ish. Anyway, so that was the big cliffhanger, and this leads me to something we discussed previously, something I wanted to see, and I even predicted something like this, but they gave us way more than what I was guessing. My original prediction was the war would explode in this issue, and it would spill over into the next issue. As far as the herd going through Alexandria, well, they gave us a ton more because the herd didn't even get to Alexandria yet, and that's all spilling over into the next couple issues. Now, I wrote down 3 reasons why I love that. 1, the Whisperer War is done. It's over. They had their battle with Dwight. Whether you like it or not, or know it or not, that was the Whisperer War. That's done and gone. It's over, and I like that, and I like it because my reason number 2, the herd is now coming to Alexandria, and we are going to carry over the end of the war, which is essentially part of the war. I love this idea that we are layering it, and that goes into my number 3 reason why I love this overflow of story, because when you layer story, it feels more realistic. Like, we have the Saviors out there. They're still a threat. Saviors are going to come. They're going to do some shit, most likely after, because we got a hint in the covers that issue 165-ish, that's when the Saviors show up. So we have 163, 164 popping off, and then the Saviors. It's so nice and layered because once the Saviors get there, unless something crazy or different happens, the threat of the Whisperers is still out there, and we don't know how long that threat is even going to be out there. Beta is injured, and we might even see him heal over time, and we might not even return to Beta for 10 more issues, kind of like how the Governor was a thing of the past for 10 issues, and then he shows up out of nowhere, and then we flash back to see what the Governor was doing. I really enjoy that type of layered storyline. I talk about this in the TV show as well, and I appreciate how they have the Saviors in the story around the time where we have the wolves popping off and all this other shit. I really do love that because it's not like, and the comic as well, it's not like, okay, we have the Whisperer War, it's in this issue, the Whisperer War's done, you know what I mean? Because that's how story arcs are broken down, every 6 issues. And then in the next issue, we have the new villains, the radio guys, the Saviors. Okay, they're done in this story arc. They don't do that. They don't restrict the story, they don't force the story or stretch the story out to fit these molds. Now let's back it up to Negan talking to Lucille. This adds some interesting questions about Lucille. This is not a bat that had any type of sentimental value for him and his wife. None at all. It's just a strange bat. Now, his conversation, his burial made sense. At first, I started reading it, and I'm like, he's burying the bat? This is going a little overboard. But then when you think of the bat as not the bat, but his wife, he never got to bury his wife. That has a more realistic and a more emotional and a more relatable feel and vibe to it instead of him just burying his bat. He never got to bury his wife, and he regrets that, and we see that regret with his conversation. Next up, William leading his people, the people from the kingdom, to the hilltop. I love this. This is not a leader who's just sitting back. William surprises me every new issue, and I'm loving him more and more. And the way he talks to Maggie with that respect and that loyalty, it just, there's something really cool with that character. Now, they find Maggie and the survivors from the hilltop. They find them camped out at the base of the hilltop burning. Well, it's a little distance away, but they're camped out there, and Maggie says something that she wants to rebuild, which I thought instantly, I'm like, I hope something gets in the way of that. It does sound cool that they rebuild and make it better. I do like that idea. In the same strength, I'm still stuck on my idea of how cool it would be to see ruins of, you know, the old world or the new world they built in the new world where they exist. I've talked about that time and time again, but I love that idea. So we'll see if they do rebuild, as a matter of fact. Now, Carl and Lydia have a really cool bit of dialogue where they are talking, and it made it really relatable, and it was absolutely realistic to what's going on in this story, where Lydia is just filled with shame. She is just disgusted with everything she's done. And this leads something to a project I wanted to do, and I wanted to surprise you guys with and maybe write up a little. I don't do fan fiction. I don't do it. For 98% of the time, I think it's usually ridiculous, you know, but there are some really good fan fiction out there that slip in the cracks, you know. The majority of it's gross, but there's some good stuff, and I wanted to do something where write a story of this group that had their community destroyed by the Whispers, and they are the sole survivors, and they're running through this herd. When you pick up the story, it's after the damage is done, but they're going in and out of the woods, and they're dodging walkers, and they're looking for specific ones that are more of a threat. And then we find out they're looking for the Whispers hiding among the walkers as they make their getaway. Long story short, we finally see the story wrap up, and the end of it would be that the skin mask that Alpha is wearing when we are first introduced to her in issue like 132 or something like that, that is the face of the leader from the other community. I wanted to do some fan fiction and, you know, spin that shit and make that shit off the hook, but there's just not a lot of time. So I just wanted to give a quick summary of that story to you guys. Maybe some of you like it, but I love this idea that Carl's like, no, listen, Lydia, I've done some shit too. I love how they make that connection with those two characters, and it does appear that Lydia is going to continue on. Now, with Beta, he looks a lot more injured than I initially thought he was. Now, he did take a good solid, 3 cracks to the back, one of them breaking Lucille, so he's going to need time to rest. And I'm thinking 2 interesting things with the Whispers. One, they could either kind of go on the back burner, disappear, wait for the herd of walkers to clear out Alexandria, and then go and pick off whoever is left. Or they could just go and regroup. Maybe there's more Whispers out there we haven't seen or we don't know about. Maybe there's an additional camp, and they're just going to disappear from the story for a little bit, but still be a serious threat. I think that would be awesome to forget about the Whispers for 20 issues and then have a really creepy section of an issue coming up where it's nighttime, it's rainy, you have some creepy stuff, maybe point of view stuff flashing back like a callback to the Hunters, and having someone stalked, and then you think it's a walker. Okay, the guy kills him, and then out of the bushes, some creepy visuals where it's a Whisper comes out from behind, use the walker as a decoy, and kills one of the troops on the road. And then we see a couple more, like lightning flashes, and we see more heads, and we know, holy shit, they must have built up another herd. The Whispers are back around. They are close to Alexandria. More shit's going to pop off. And I'm not saying we need another war. I'm not saying to keep repeating this theme, but the idea is scary as shit, I think, at least in that world of knowing that you didn't permanently extinguish this threat. That threat is still lingering out there. So revisiting that sometime in the future, it's okay with me. Another road they could take, though, is they could actually have the Whispers run into the Kingdom people. They can have them run into Maggie at the Kingdom, the people at Hilltop making their way to Alexandria, and then the rest of the Whispers get killed in that battle, and that's the end of them. Or the Saviors. The Saviors could just pick off the surviving members of the Whispers, maybe rip off Beta's face mask and just see what's going on, take him prisoner or some shit like that, or maybe even say they'll work with him because the Whispers numbers are destroyed right now. So there's a number of things. I should have saved all that for the prediction video, but I'm saying there's a number of interesting possibilities for these characters, and I really enjoy that. Now with Beta's mask though, I do want to warn the community. I'm seeing some really out there theories, but let's take a small dose of reality. No, there's a saying for it. Let's look at this realistically. It's not going to be some crazy epic reveal. For some odd reason, he doesn't want anyone seeing his face, but it has nothing to do with him being a member of the survivors from back in past issues. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's so-and-so from back then, or da-da-da-da. If that's the case, it doesn't matter if the Whisperers see their face, as long as the survivors don't see his face, you know? So taking off his mask isn't something he would care about at all. Is he scarred? Is he, I don't know, is he messed up? Is he a celebrity from the old world and he just doesn't want anyone seeing his face? Some of these are possibilities, but I don't think it's going to be anything mind-blowing, okay? Now, between Rick and Dwight, this is a knock at Rick. I think this was a ridiculous oversight that Rick didn't warn Dwight. There's thousands of them. You know what I mean? There's a whole... He said it was an ocean of walkers. I think that was such a poor mistake for Rick to not warn him about those walkers, or that many. If he was so surprised how easy it was, why didn't he properly warn them, like, guys, this is going to be insane. You're going to have to take days to herd these walkers out there. Get the horns. They didn't send anybody out there with horns. They didn't prepare anything, and this is what shocks me somewhat, because Kirkman set it up in issue 127 with the New Beginning to use that. They were moving massive herds in the very beginning of the New Beginning, the first friggin' issue. How come that's not a setup for this payoff? I just don't get that. Maybe it's coming for the next big herd, but why we didn't see them have that stuff out there so they can prepare to move the herds, that I don't get. I think that is probably one of the biggest flaws in the overall writing for the Whisper War. We still have some time to see why they didn't do that yet. So we'll see that play out before we condemn it, you know. Another thing, I always like to bring up Charlie's art. You gotta love it, especially when it gets to the herd, when Rick is like, oh no, it's not over. We gotta warn everybody, yada, yada, yada. You gotta get back out there. But I really like Charlie Adler's art. It is badass. Now, issue 163 is gonna be a little bit bigger, and it's going to be a special 25th anniversary for Image Comics, which means you can buy the issue for 25 cents. I can't believe they're even doing that. That is incredible. I already have my usual 2 copies reserved, and I can picture this one selling out at 25 cents. I don't think they're going to make extra, you know, like that many. I don't know. Again, I don't know how that's going to work out. I feel like they're going to make, let's say they get a certain amount that usually like an average that buys it. They'll make maybe a little over that, and then if it sells out, once it sells out, they'll make a second printing where they can charge a full $3 an issue. Get to your comic stores for the next issue definitely as early as you can. 25 cents an issue for a bigger issue, and we have a massive herd that's about to take out Alexandria. And then 2 weeks after that, in February still, we're going to be getting, and February is a short month too, we're going to be getting issue 164, and then the next month we will be back in March for issue 165, and we'll go back to 1 issue a month after that until they announce anything else that's special coming up. So I'm really hyped for what's coming up in the world of The Walking Dead with the comic. I think this was a nice surprise. I haven't checked yet to see what your opinions are on social media. I do have a feeling there's going to be some people upset that we didn't get some big finale in the very last issue of the Whisperer War, technically, but with the way I look at it, I'm loving where it's going. Like, the Whisperer War is done, whether you like it or not, but now we're moving over into even more dangerous territory. We just don't have that, you know, story arc label with it, and for me, that's not a big deal. I would rather it realistic and layered than having it so cookie cutter clean. At the end of the arc, the story ends, bada bing, bada boom. In a day or there too. I'm going to have prediction videos for the next issue coming up. I also have a spoiler-free review. I'm going to try my best to get that uploaded maybe after this video, maybe, for Train to Busan, I think it's called, or Busan. Incredible. And then in a couple days I will do a in-depth, like an afterthought style spoiler review for Train to Busan, because I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Busan, maybe? Because I think that is one incredible zombie movie, just incredible. And I got a couple more things coming up with my the best of and the worst of Walking Dead TV show episodes. The lists are going to start coming up in a couple weeks, so keep an eye out for that. You know what to do. Thoughts and opinions in that comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn. Subscribe now.